All right, good morning. So I'm going to give it a couple minutes to see who is going to pop on this morning. All right, hopefully you're doing really well. I am going to go ahead and get started. So this morning, I really want to talk about the holiday season. If you know me and you follow me on social media, then you know that the holiday season wasn't really like the best time for me. I actually would somewhat boycott holiday celebrations or like holiday music. I wouldn't really like listening to holiday music. But I was just so much into this like boycotting, like yeah, in the holidays because there was so much going on. And actually when I unpacked it and I went underneath all of this, is that the main thing that came through is that the holidays would bring a lot of stress for me and it would bring a lot of overwhelm for me. So those are like two big things that I wasn't really aware of until I started to become really conscious in my life and looking at what areas of my life do I specifically need to heal in. So I have a couple different things I want to discuss today. And I'm really excited to talk to you about them because it's things that I've been thinking about for the past couple months just leading into this season. So the first thing that I want to talk about that I think is just the first, if you're going to do anything with this webinar, take this and run with it. So first thing is energetic management and self-care. So we all talk about self-care, right? It's something that's out there. But what's been more helpful for me, and self-care is great. I don't want to have you think there's anything wrong with that. But what's been helpful for me is this energetic management. So yes, taking care of myself is really important, but also understanding where is my energy, right? So am I feeling really just down and dense, or am I feeling like I have a lot of energy and I can give back to a lot of people and I can walk into a party or an event and I feel really good about that? Or do I need to ask myself, like, is this something that I really want to go to and spend my time at? Because a lot of times our bodies will tell us if it's ready to essentially jump into something or go somewhere or be with certain people. Our bodies will tell us that. And yes, sometimes I just feel really dense anyways, and then I just essentially give myself a pep talk and I like dance around my room and then I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. I can give myself that momentum, but it's coming from an empowered state. So I can feel really dense and then know that it would actually feel really good to me if I went to this event with these people because I really like them and I enjoy their company. So I just need to get out of this like dense energy that I might be holding. So that's a little bit around just energetic management. And I have some notes here. So I might be going back and forth from those, but it's also knowing that we are energetic beings. You know, our bodies are made up of 99.999% energy and the rest is matter. And so we have vibrations within our body, and vibrations meaning like if you feel your heart right now, your heart is actually beating. And so that is giving off a frequency, giving off a vibration. So energetically, we take on a lot and we also put out a lot. And when I was just tuning into what you might need for this webinar, was a lot of people tend to have a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm, and they don't take time for themselves. So like I said, this is really important. So the first thing that you can ask yourself during this, and you can write this down, is to ask yourself, what is of the utmost importance for me to take care of myself and my energy this holiday season? So for me, I'm going to Alabama next week to spend time with my parents, and I love them. But one thing I will have to do is tell them, hey, I will need about 2 to 3 hours in the morning to get in some kind of movement, to go to the gym or take the dog for a walk. And I will also need about 15 to 30 minutes to meditate. And so that will actually help me be a better human for them to be around. Because if I don't do those things, then I feel really just down and dense. And sometimes when I'm at home with my family, I mean, I love them, they're wonderful, but sometimes I have to leave the room and do that just because we're all human, right? We like, people trigger us and people, say certain things, and then we have to recognize, okay, so that just came up for me. So I can either be triggered by it, or I can take a step back and breathe and go into another room if I need to. And also know that anything that someone brings up for you, if it triggers you in some kind of way, or if it offends you in some kind of way, then that actually means that we have our own healing to do with that. So it's also knowing, right, people are mirrors for us just as much as we are energetic beings. Everyone around us are energetic beings, and their energy, what they say, what they do, are mirrors for us. And so that's a great thing to become aware of. It's been huge in my life, just knowing like, okay, I'm feeling some discomfort here. I'm feeling some anger come up. I'm feeling some anxiety come up. So what is here for me to learn from this situation? And maybe the only thing for me to learn is to say, hey, I'm feeling really uncomfortable right now, so I'm just going to take a couple minutes and then I'll be back. It's nothing, nothing that you did. This is all about me, but I'm just going to go. I'm going to take a moment. So that's a great thing to do as well. So knowing what is the most important thing for you to do over this holiday season, and write that out and declare that, say like, this is what I'm going to be doing. Like I said, I'm going to tell my family up front so they know. I did this last year, and they know like how important it is to me, and they know like how my energy shifts when I have put myself in the things that I need to do first. And so the next question I want you to think about is, how can I begin to do this now? Right? So what are the things that I can begin to actually place in my routine now to begin this process? Because maybe you do some sort of movement every day. Maybe you do meditate every day. Maybe you do add in prayer or gratitude. But if you don't do that, it's totally fine. But if you don't, then I invite you to pick two things, maybe something different than you're used to, and add those into your routine starting today. Right. So I mentioned a couple things there. So movement, and this does not need to be going to the gym and weightlifting or whatever. It can be great. That's what I do. Love to do it. But it can also just be taking a 5-minute walk outside. It could be saying a prayer, and if prayer, like that word, essentially just taking time to meditate, or saying a couple things in the morning that you're grateful for. So bringing in a prayer or a gratitude practice, or meditation is something that's been huge in my life, and I've gotten to the point where I try to meditate for at least like 30 minutes a day. Today I did 15, and that was totally fine. I might do more throughout the day. Who knows? And positive affirmations are also a great thing to do. So how am I going to add these things into my routine starting today? So when it comes to the holiday season, so Thanksgiving's next week, you'll already have them in your routine, and it'll be really easy, especially if you're going out of town, to just jump into those and to keep them in your system. So energetic management, self-care, so important. Second thing I want to talk about is people pleasing. I know, it's super exciting. So as human beings, at least for me, maybe this is not a thing that you do, but for me, I would tend to people please, like #recovering people pleaser. And I want you to also know that this is completely normal. Like, people pleasing is actually a survival mechanism. So it is something that can bring up fear within us. And fear is essentially a survival mechanism, because it's saying like, oh, this person is not going to like me. So that brings up fear in me. And then that also brings this survival mechanism, this like fight, flight, or freeze. So if I'm not pleasing someone, then my heart rate can increase. And then I will either want to fight for my worthiness, or I will want to like freeze and I don't know what to do, especially if, for me, if I try to set a boundary and someone doesn't like it, I will tend to run from the situation and like set it and then just kind of run away from it. So knowing it, and that's also another thing, knowing what you do, like what comes up for you, what survival mechanism comes up for you when you do begin to set boundaries with people instead of pleasing them. And the main thing around this as well is instead of pleasing people, I invite you to love people and really find compassion and authenticity and empathy. And I know like if you're watching this, then most likely those things are automatically a part of your life, but especially during this season. So instead of pleasing people, it's just loving people and knowing that it is not our job to please other people, right? It is not our job. Our only job is to love other people. And, essentially, like, if we are able to love ourselves, then we are automatically able to love other people. And then we don't have to please other people. It goes back to that survival mechanism. It is just a survival mechanism that we can decide to let go of. And yes, people are sometimes they will have reactions to that, but just know that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them, right? Everything to do with them. Yeah, so a little bit about pleasing people. I just know that that's something that's come up for me, so I wanted to talk about that as well. And, another question that you can ask yourself here is, like, instead of thinking about how can I please someone else, think about or like write out, what do I need to be happy this holiday season? Instead of thinking like, how do I, make my brother or my sister happy because I know they're struggling right now, or how do I make my mom or my dad happy because I know, they're going through some things. Instead of doing that, because we don't have control over them, we only have control over ourselves, then asking like, how can I be happy this holiday season? And once we do that, once we make that shift, then everyone around us will feel that vibration, and because we're energetic beings, and then they will automatically, maybe not automatically, but they will think, oh, like Brooke, like she's really happy, and like, oh, I want to, I want to take on that energy. So people feel that energy from us, that vibration from us, and usually people will match that. So just knowing, like, ask yourself, what do I need to be happy this holiday season? And then, another question is, when you're walking into any event or situation where you have these like preconceived notions or expectations, which a lot of my teachings, I often ask people to, let go of expectations, let go of preconceived notions, because if we're holding on to those so tightly, that means that we are still holding on to expectations within ourselves, and we're still holding on to these preconceived notions about ourselves. So then that's another invitation of asking yourself that question: what am I expecting from myself? What preconceived notions do I have towards myself that maybe I'm not letting go, and that I maybe need to begin to let go, so therefore I can let go of that around others. So bringing that back to, what if I came from an experience of love? Before I walk into any holiday party or any holiday event, what if I came from the experience of love? That's the only thing that I did. I walk into this room and like, I am love, I am light, and that's all that is. Right? What if that was it? Right? It would probably be a whole lot different. And if I forget, then I write, or I put reminders in my phone, or if you have a fancy like Apple Watch, that thing mine buzzes throughout the day, because I put reminders on my phone, because as human beings, like, we forget things. We're not perfect, right? This is not about being perfect. It's just about, giving ourselves the most reminders that we can give ourselves, because there's a lot of other things going on in our lives and our brains. So really taking like the least path of resistance, right? So really being like nice to ourselves and loving ourselves, especially during this time. All right, so that's the main thing about people pleasing. So the next thing I want to talk about is being around toxic people, and also just acceptance versus resistance. So, and I want to go back to, bringing in the loving and the compassion and the authenticity. And that goes back to yourself. So really loving yourself, loving others, being compassionate towards yourself, being compassionate to others, being authentic to yourself, being authentic to others. And asking yourself, who do I need to be for myself? Who do I need to be for my family? And when toxic people are around me, and toxic just meaning that their energy might be a little off around you, or they might say things that have triggered you in the past, or like an example in my life, I have a family member who tends to mention something about my weight. And so I know for them, I have to be really proactive and really plan out these things. And so if I know, I did that last year where I know this person says these things to me. So I planned out what I was going to say. And what I said was, hey, like it actually makes me feel really defensive when you bring up my weight. And it actually makes me feel really like sad when you bring up my weight. So could you please not do that again? And that's it. It's just, I feel this way, right? Like communication 101. Yeah. I feel blank when you say this, or when you did this, when this happened. And can you please not do that again? Right. And then end the conversation. And you know what that does is that actually can open someone else's eyes to, hey, actually what I say does impact other people. Because sometimes like people who are unconscious, they are not aware that they're like what they're saying actually can impact someone else, right? And I sometimes do that too. What I'm saying, sometimes I'm not aware that it can impact other people, and it can, and it doesn't. They don't make us feel a certain way. It's just I am feeling, because we don't have the power to make someone feel a certain way. Like we can trigger someone or influence someone, but we don't essentially make them feel a certain way. It's just what's going on around us. So just, those are some fun things I like to throw into these. So who do I want to be for myself? Who do I want to be for my family? Right? Do I want to be an accepting person for myself? Do I want to be an accepting person for my family? Yes. Do I want to be the light around my family for myself? Yes. Yeah. So who would I want to be? And knowing that, it's also like the same thing, that it's not our job to please other people. It's also not our job to judge or try to control other people. And like I've worked in addiction in the past, and I know like for a lot of the families that I worked with around the holidays, it was really difficult because in addiction, there's a lot going on. And so there would be a lot of trying to control other people and control what they were doing. And it would essentially ruin their whole entire holiday season. And my invitation for them was control what you can control, which is what you think, how you're thinking and perceiving a situation, how you're feeling, and your actions. Like those are the only things that we can control. So it's not our job to judge other people. It's not our job to change other people, right? So I've been really moving into spirituality, and, I want other people to feel as good as I feel all the time. I want that for so many people. And there's a lot of people out there that do feel good a lot of the time. And I want that for more people. And that's really like one of my big missions in my life is to just help people feel really good in their bodies, in their minds, in their souls. And, one way we can definitely get there is knowing that it is not our job to judge other people, to control other people, or to even change other people. It's our only job to be the love, to be the light. And then if people come to us, right, if we get the invitation, like, hey, Brooke, tell me, this is an example. Hey, Brooke, tell me a little bit about like your spirituality and what you're doing with that. And I'm like, all right, like, let's have that conversation. But I don't go up to my mom and say, hey, mom, like we should do this meditation together. And I'm going to tell you about cord cutting because I think that would be really helpful for you. Like, no, especially not with our families, or at least for me, not with my family. Sometimes I will ask if they want to participate in something for me, but I always say, this is just an ask like this. I don't expect you to do anything. So if it's not the moment for you right now, then that's okay too. All right. And just know, like, if something comes up for you, like, always go back to your breath. Go back to breathing, allowing, and know that, like, you can always leave the room for like 3 to 5 minutes. Say, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. And especially if you find yourself trying to, like, you're judging or controlling or, falling back into those patterns, which we can all fall back into, which I did the other day. And what I had to do was say, all right, Brooke, like, take a moment, breathe, come back to your heart, center back in, and then, like, continue on with the conversation. So knowing that, coming back to your breath and having something that you say to yourself, like, all right, I'm going to come back to myself. You can even just kind of, like, sometimes I'll just rub my chest. It just reminds me to drop back into my heart. And you'll even notice that I will do that when I do webinars and things like that, because it tells me to come back, because a lot of times we can be up here, which is not, a good place to be sometimes when we're around our families, because that means we're being really analytical. And sometimes with our families, we need to just be ourselves and come from our heart and come from, our bodies and what's really going on in here. So really breathing, allowing, setting alarms on our phones are super helpful with, positive affirmations. If you need help with that, please let me know. I have a couple that I tend to go to. Main ones for the holidays are like, I am love, I am light, I am love, I'm light. I say that all the time. So breathe and allow. And also, this is a great time, like, acceptance versus resistance. So accepting other people for where they're at, right? So I'm not judging them. I'm just accepting for where they're at, and accepting myself for where I'm at, and also knowing when you need to set boundaries with people and when you need to, like, let things go. Because when resistance comes up, for me at least, is when I don't set a boundary and when I just hold on to it and I go into blaming mode, like, they made me feel this way and they did this and that really pissed me off, and that person said that and they shouldn't have said that. They shouldn't be talking about politics at dinner because that just really pissed. So all of that was like, that person made me feel this way. Go back to the beginning of this. People do not make us feel a certain way. It's our own thoughts around what they're doing and what they're saying. And that brings in resistance when I do not decide to set a boundary with them. So I'm owning everything that I'm doing. I am setting boundaries with people in my life. So for example, if you're sitting next to Uncle Tom at, Thanksgiving lunch, and Uncle Tom starts talking about Obama and Trump and the difference between them, right? So he's yammering, he's talking on or whatever. And it's getting to a point where you're noticing you're getting really uncomfortable. And you know what I would recommend you could do, if you could get through that and not, own it and just say, like, all right, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to allow. But then you breathe and you allow, and then you can say, hey, what, Uncle Tom, like, I would actually appreciate talking about, what you've been doing like earlier in this year instead of politics. What do you think about that? Right? Like, what did you do? What have you been doing with your life? Like, what was the best thing you've done this year so far? What like really lit you up? What really excited you? Like, tell me about that. That's what I want to hear. Right? So you see, like, coming from that love, or asking someone, hey, like, what do you really appreciate? Like, what makes you feel really good right now? Like, what is going really well in your life, super good in your life? Just see how people kind of shift. And that's like setting a boundary from an empowered space. Because I could come from that a totally different question, like, why the hell are you talking about politics right now? You need to shut up, right? So that's coming from a disempowered place, because that's gonna bring up a whole lot of stuff. And like I said before, also preparing. It's always good to prepare. Like, if you know that, hey, like, my dad tends to bring up politics, and that does make me feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to journal about that. And then I'm also going to ask myself, do I need to set that boundary with him before like our Thanksgiving lunch or our Christmas dinner? Like, do I need to do that? And if I do, then I'm going to lovingly come to that person, not around anyone else, and say, hey, like, past couple of years, we've talked about politics and all that kind of stuff. And I would love to have an open conversation with you, but just not at the family table. I would really appreciate if we could talk about something else. And because I don't want this to be like, oh, there's conversations that we can never have with people, because I think we should always have conversations and talk about different opinions people have around politics and religion, and all. Like, an open discourse is beautiful. But sometimes, like, around the holidays, or if there's drinking involved or anything like that, then I would say to stay away from those conversations. So we'll keep it at that, but just accepting where people are and setting boundaries along the way. And sometimes with people in our lives, they will sometimes ask us questions that we don't know how to answer. And so having like something that works really well for you, that's empowering for you, if those questions come up for you. So some examples could be, hey, Brooke, like, why are you not married yet? Or like, why don't you have kids? Or maybe I do have kids. Why are your kids in Montessori school? Why are your kids not in private school or public school? Just, you can say like, I'm not married yet. Or like, I don't have kids yet. Yeah, you're right. All right. That's really all I got for you. Or, they're not in that because, this is just where they're at right now. And, it's the decision that me and my partner have made, or it's the decision that I've made. And, that's as far as that I feel comfortable going into that with you at this point. And that's a perfect place to end scene, right? You can even think like you're at improv class, and like you're essentially going through the holidays, like working improv, if this all is, somewhat new to you. So yes, preparing yourself for what you need to prepare yourself for, setting boundaries beforehand and during if you need to. All right, so the next thing, which I love, is creating versus following, but essentially just creating. Like, creating the holidays of your dreams, right? Like, we get to create our lives. Like, we do not have to roll downstream with the rest of the fishes, right? We do not have to do the same thing that everyone else is doing. Like, we can create the holidays that we want to create. Like, something I asked my partner the other day was, hey, like, what ritual or like what celebration do you tradition do you want to begin like this holiday season? Like, even just asking your family that, like, and asking yourself, right? Like, what traditions do I want to bring into my life? And something for me, like on Thanksgiving morning, I'm going to start a ritual with myself, and really sit down and write out like what all am I specifically grateful for that has happened in my life, like in this past, since last Thanksgiving. So, and I'm going to light a candle and I'm going to make some nice tea and I'm going to meditate. And then I'm going to write and just and take like about 20 minutes and just write out, this is how I want my Thanksgiving to be. I'm going to start it a little bit with me. And then the night before Thanksgiving, I'm going to ask my family, hey, during Thanksgiving lunch, I would really appreciate if we could just go around the table and talk about our year and what's happened this year and what have we been really excited about. Maybe what have we not been so excited about and what did we learn from that? Right? Like it makes me so happy, and it actually like brings tears to my eyes that we actually get to create whatever we want to create. And maybe my life doesn't look like yours. Maybe you have kids and you have a huge family and it doesn't look like this, and that's okay. What I really want to invite you to do is just write out like, what traditions do I want to begin with my family? What kind of holiday or what kind of holiday season do I want to create with my family? And getting into Christmas, something that I've been doing is I used to get really stressed about gifts. Like, what am I supposed to give people? My family have everything that they need. And so now I've actually been giving them, like, the gift is I will write them out, like, next year I want to plan a weekend getaway together. So I've done that with most of my family members, is I will say, so last October I did that for my parents. I wrote out, we're going to go to Portland, Oregon and go along the Oregon coast, and we're going to stay in this Airbnb and it's going to be beautiful. And that was such a wonderful gift that I could give myself and my parents, and I was able to spend that time with them and do that. And we both that was our Christmas gifts to each other. So we spent whatever money that we were going to spend on a gift, we put that towards spending time together. And it doesn't have to be a trip, right? It can be, like I've also given just movie tickets and say like, hey, I would love to, go to a movie with you and treat you to dinner. Or I love giving like self-care stuff like massages and things like that. But it doesn't have to be a gift, right? It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be, let's all get together and go to Mexico during the holiday season, and that's what we're going to spend our money on, right? So it can be whatever you want it to be. Those are just a few examples. Yeah, so we all get to create whatever we want to create, and really asking yourself, what do I want to create? And if you have a partner in your life, this could be a great thing to do with your partner and your kids. Before the Christmas season, you can sit around at the table and say, what do we want to create this Christmas? It can be anything. It can be anything at all. What do we want to do? What do we want to create? So something that's fun to add in. All right, the last thing is enjoy it. Enjoy every single part of it. Enjoy the chaos, enjoy the peace, enjoy the time off from work. But the main thing that I would say is, once you're enjoying, is to be present. Be present with people around you. Maybe set a boundary that you will only look at your phone once or twice, and then you'll put it away, and you'll turn it off. You'll put it away. You don't need it because everyone around you is there. You can take a couple pictures, but then put it away, right? And this is just an invitation. I definitely don't want to tell you what to do by any means, right? Just figuring out what is the best thing for you to do, right? So do I need to put it away? I'll put it away at 10 a.m. and then I can pick it back up for about 30 minutes at 5 p.m. And then I'm present with my family. I'm enjoying time by myself. I'm enjoying time with the people that I love. So that is a huge thing. and focus on the positive. Focus on what you love about someone. Because something I would do was I would say, well, I know my mom's going to say this at this exact time, about this exact like thing. But no, like, don't, I want to invite you to not do that. So, and in your life with anyone, with anything, it's like, give people the opportunity to change, give people the opportunity to evolve, right? Like, I have people in my life who do this now, and I'm like, hey, you're really not giving people the opportunity to change or to evolve by putting that vibration into your experience, which therefore it can automatically like go into their experience. Because like I said, we're vibrational beings. So like, if you say like, oh, I know this person is going to be this way, or I know that they're going to say that, or I know that they're going to do this, and oh my gosh, like, when you find yourself doing that, take a moment, like, pause and breathe, right? So we're always coming back to that pausing and breathing, and then let it go and go back to, I am accepting, I am loving, I'm giving people the opportunity to change, to evolve, because I give myself that opportunity. I give myself the opportunity to change, to evolve. And you can even, if you can't think about a time, there's a lot of change and evolution in my life, but if there's not in yours right now, that's totally fine. But think about a time in your past where you changed, where your thoughts changed, where your preferences changed, where your thoughts about a certain person change, where your feelings change. Like, remember those times in your life in the past where things changed, people responded to you differently, you responded to someone else differently, you saw the light in someone where you maybe didn't see it before. And give that opportunity to people in your life, and really appreciate, like, if you see yourself doing that, go back to, what do I really appreciate about them? What do I really love about them? What do they do that just like makes me laugh? Like, what do they say that makes me laugh? And one thing I like to do is just like crack jokes sometimes. Like, if people are getting really hot and heavy, I'm just like, hey, you know what? Like, listen to this silly thing I did the other day. Or like, I'm not really that good at jokes, but if you're good at jokes, like, throw out a joke, or do whatever you need to do. But main thing is appreciate, accept, and love. Yeah. Appreciate, accept, and love. AAL. Yeah. So those are the main things that I wanted to talk about for the holiday season. Like I said, it's such a wonderful time of the year, and just know if you're feeling, a little stressed or a little overwhelmed, like, that's okay. Those feelings come up for a lot of people. But what I invite you to do is, go through this webinar if you haven't taken notes, and just write down those questions that I asked, and really take some time to think through them. And, having the positive affirmations of, I am love, I am light, I am accepting, I am free. I am here to be. I'm not here to judge or control. I'm just here to be. I am here to be. Right? So those positive affirmations are great things just to come back to have in your phone, to put up, like, where you can see it when you wake up in the morning, and just coming back to yourself. What do I need to feel really good? What do I need? Because when I feel really good, the people around me have the opportunity to feel good. It's definitely up to them, right? But at least I'm giving them the opportunity. And create whatever you want to create. This is the time to do it. Life's too short to not create something around this season that we truly love. So I hope that was really helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, or if you do need any support during this holiday season. I do have a couple ways that you can work with me one-on-one. So if you felt really good around this and you really like the way that I explain things, or you just really like my energy, always reach out. I'm super easy to get in touch with. You can email me, message me on Instagram, Facebook, all those social media stuff. But I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Bye.